What is up, everybody? We're rolling on out here today, episode 19 of the Hodder Show. I hope you are doing absolutely awesome. Thank you so much for tuning in and joining me on this very special episode of the Hodder Show. A special Tuesday episode, and the significance of why I decided to do this podcast on this day. Obviously, I just got finished doing my WrestleMania coverage. I hope you guys enjoyed that very much. I know that there's been a lot of feedback about them so far. It was a crazy WrestleMania, but I'm not going to even talk about that remotely today because there is something much more important to talk about. Not that WrestleMania and wrestling is not important or anything, but it occurred to me a couple weeks ago that there was a very special anniversary coming up in the world of music, and I guess my world of music. And I decided I wanted to do a little podcast on it. Nothing crazy today, just really kind of a quick basic podcast about some stuff. So there's going to be no editing on this, no fancy tricks or anything of that nature. There's not even any studio music or anything. Just what you guys heard earlier was me just literally quickly jamming out a bit on GarageBand. So hopefully you guys enjoy that little ditty. But the anniversary that I'm talking about today is today, April 5th, is the anniversary of the death of a man who I never met. But inspired me more than most people I have met, if that makes any sense. And that man's name is Layne Staley. And if you guys don't happen to know who Layne Staley is, Layne Staley was the vocalist for Alice in Chains for a very long time. He also played and he also sang for a couple other bands as well earlier in his career, like Sleaze, and then Alice N, like the letter N, Chains. They were more of like a glam rock bands there. But best known for his time in Alice in Chains. Really, I don't even know where to start. Talking about Layne Staley. Obviously, as I mentioned, today is the anniversary of his death, and it's been 14 years since Layne Staley passed away. And having never really known about Alice in Chains or Layne Staley during the height of Alice in Chains' career, obviously, is a bit of a bummer. But seeing as how quickly and how much I got into them the first time I heard them, it's pretty crazy to think about. The fact that one band and one person had this profound effect on me. It's just crazy. The first time I really ever heard Alice in Chains, actually it's kind of funny. I did talk about this on the my top 10 bands podcast that I did a few weeks ago. But I'll tell the story again real quick. The first time I actually ever saw or heard Alice in Chains, it actually had nothing to do with Layne, which is kind of funny to think about it. But I was watching, I was really into Nickelback at the time. And I was watching their Live at Home DVD that they did. And it got to a point in the set where Chad says, I'd like to take this time to introduce a very good friend of mine, Mr. Jerry Cantrell of Alice in Chains. And I'm sitting there going, oh, who's this dude? And he walks in, and I'm like, man, who's this lanky, long-haired dude? And long story short, they played It Ain't Like That. And I did not know music could sound like that. It just corrupted me for the rest of my life. The guitar work and just going from, if anyone who knows the song It Ain't Like That, it goes from kind of like that that major riff, into that really heavy, chuggy, dun 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 dun. I'm sitting here freaking singing the song to you guys, but you look up the song, or if you know the song, you'll know what I mean. And like I said, I didn't know music could sound like that, so I was like, holy cow! So immediately, I had to look up the original version of the song, And that was the first time I ever experienced Layne Staley. And when I first heard him, I didn't think he sounded very good. I was like, man, this guy sounds weird. And I just kind of went, whatever, and didn't really think much else of it. I liked the song, and I was like, oh, it's okay, and I think I may have heard Man in the Box and Rooster again is like at that time as well. And I was like, okay, cool, like they're good, but like it didn't like totally like sell me on them, you know what I mean? And one day I'm sitting on YouTube, and I was listening to the Nirvana MTV Unplugged, actually, or sorry, watching it, and I just noticed in the videos beside it, it said, this was before YouTube was kind of crazy with the whole recommended videos. Now they're all over the bloody place, but at that time it was very like, it was usually something that was similar to what you were watching, like very, very similar. So it literally just said Alice in Chains MTV Unplugged. So I'm like, okay, cool. I'll have to check this out. Because I was really into unplugged stuff and acoustic music at that time. And I sat down and I decided I'm just going to click on the first video I see of it. And I clicked on it, and it happened to be an unplugged version of Angry Chair. Now, anyone who knows Alice in Chains, you know that song, because that is a fully Layne Staley written song. Both the lyrics, the guitar work, everything, it's all him. And, well, as far as the main riff in that. And that song, it did something to me. And I'm not sure still to this day what it was, but it just completely changed my life forever. And I texted my buddy, Brandon, like immediately, and I was like, dude, like, what is this? Like, I did not know music could sound like this. I love Alice in Chains. Layne Staley is amazing, blah, 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 blah. And from that day forward, I started seeking out all Alice in Chains I possibly could. I went ahead and bought the MTV Unplugged album, which is kind of funny to think about it. That was the first Alice in Chains album I bought. And I listened to all the songs. And of course, them starting off their MTV Unplugged set with the song Nutshell, which is a bit of the song you guys heard in the intro there. I was like, that's like one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard in my life. But still, it's heavy. Like, the lyrical content is very heavy, and what he says in that, and it was just, I was like, holy crap! And that's another Layne Staley written song. And I just, goddamn, like, this is like, what is, like, I didn't know music could sound like this. I can't stress that enough. Just, I was blown away, and there's a bunch of other, I can't remember the set list at the top of my head right now, but they played a few more songs, and another song they played that really got me on that, because it was so different and just kind of weird, was a song called Frogs. Yes, Frogs. It was just this really weird, slow song, and again, another Layne Staley penned lyrics, and I could just feel like whatever he was singing about. I was like, God damn, that's deep. Like, that's real. And that's what I think really struck a chord with me. Was I've always been someone who, the music has to be real. And when I first heard Layne Staley do his thing, and I heard some of the lyrics he wrote in that, I was like, oh my God, like, this is real. This is as real as it gets. It's raw. His voice is just, it's unlike anything you will ever hear and we will ever hear again. And that's so apparent on all their records. And even watching the evolution, like, I mean, it's kind of funny how I started off with MTV Unplugged. And then I went out and I bought Facelift. Technically their first studio record. They did have the EP before that, but I went out and bought that, and I was kind of thrown off when I put it in, because it was so different from what I had heard. At that point, they were still kind of trying to find their sound. Like, there was some more, almost like swingy, like, I can't even explain, really bluesy stuff on that record. And really great stuff on there, man. I love that record front to back. But there was a song on that record that still to this day, it's a song that I love that song. I love jamming out to that song. and that song is Love, Hate, Love. And it is, I don't know who he wrote that song about, but goddamn, I would have loved to have sat down and heard the story behind that song, because it is some dark, dark, dark stuff. So I was like, man, like, this guy is messed up, but still, it's beautiful. You know what I mean? And it's just, it's funny how there's a lot of, like, awesome songs on that record. And a lot of people say, oh, you like Alice in Chains? Yeah, I love Man in the Box and Rooster and all this stuff. And I always love to meet other, like, Alice in Chains fans, because there's a lot of people who they'll say, oh, like, what are some of your favorite Alice in Chains songs? And I'll tell them, Nutshell, Love, Hate, Love, Angry Chair, Frogs. And they're like, oh. And I'm like, yeah, I'm a real Alice in Chains fan. I know my songs. But one of the coolest things was the day that I went out and got Dirt, which I really consider probably my favorite album of all time, let alone my favorite Alice in Chains album. Because that album, they really found their sound, and that record, to this day, I put it in, and it blows my mind still. Layne's voice on that record was probably at its prime, I would say. On their third record in between there, it was as well, but that record, I really feel like he kind of came into what exactly he was going for with his voice. There's so many songs on that record that I could talk about, but I first heard, obviously, the studio version of Angry Chair, blew me away. I didn't even know what to do with myself when I first heard the studio version, and the heaviness of it and the solo and everything. I was just like, holy crap, like I can't, and there was another song on that record that I really like, and a lot of people always say to me, well, it's kind of similar to Angry Chair, and I'm like, no, it's not. Fuck off. That song is Hate to Feel, and it is another Layne Staley penned and written song, and it is such a cool tune, very dark, but again, real lyrical content, and that's what I always loved about Layne. I sat down today to do this just for I usually always make a big status or something on this day and talk about a bunch of stuff, and a lot of people tend to really pay attention to the fact that, well, today isn't just the anniversary of the death of Layne Staley, but it is also the anniversary of the death of another famous musician, also from the grunge era. Obviously, as everyone knows, is Kurt Cobain. And I mean, I love Nirvana and I love Kurt Cobain and everything, and I could do a podcast on that too, but a lot of people tend to focus on that, and I feel like a lot of people forget about Layne Staley, and that's something that I think the world needs to remember, that he was a guy who he did a lot in such a short time with music. And Alice in Chains only released 3 albums with Layne, 3 full albums, and the discography they have is amazing. And I've just mentioned a few Alice in Chains songs that I really, really love, and people always say to me, oh, like, so you're a big Alice in Chains fan, so like you like Layne Staley? And I'm like, I love Layne Staley. And they're like, oh yeah, like, what do you think about the new stuff? And I love new Alice in Chains, as much as I love old Alice in Chains. But there are times where I go, man, what if? The day I found out Layne Staley passed away was obviously long after he actually passed away. I probably discovered Alice in Chains about, I want to say about 2006, somewhere in that ballpark. And I just didn't know he passed away. And I used to have this thing of where I would always look up everything about a band. I'd want to know everything about the band. And I discovered he passed away. And I mean, I was heartbroken. It was, it sucked because it was like a dream of mine to see them live. And I've seen Alice in Chains live 3 times, and it's always been a wonderful experience. And I love Alice in Chains still to this day. I cannot stress that enough. William Duvall does an absolutely amazing job doing what he does. But, there's always that small part of me that's like, man, I wish I could have just, even once, seen Layne Staley actually perform live, because going off of videos and live performance tracks and stuff like that, I mean, it would have been an experience just to get to witness him live, even near the end. I mean, unfortunately, as he came to the end of his life in the early 2000s, he started getting very heavily into drugs, and I mean, he had drug problems and depression problems and that his whole life, but it was really near the end there that it really started getting really bad, and a lot of stuff happened in his personal life, and it was really brutal. And at that that MTV Unplugged that they did, they performed the song Wood, which is an amazing song. It's not actually a Layne Staley written song, but near the end of the song, there's a lyric that he literally says, "Am I wrong? Have I run too far to get home?" And the way he sings it, and when he looks at you, because the whole performance he's wearing sunglasses of this MTV Unplugged performance. He takes it off like halfway through, and I mean, you can tell by looking at him he's not well. He's just not well at all. And during that part there, I just mentioned, he looks at the camera, and it's like literally he's staring into your soul, like asking for help. I can't even explain it other than that. Like, just, it was, it's a hard thing to watch, even now that, I mean, I never met the guy. I'm just like, man, like, if only, because it's an absolutely tragic story, what happened with him in his life. And obviously the legacy he left behind is one that will never be forgotten. That's one reason why I am doing this little podcast here, just for even any kind of reach or following I have gathered over the last little bit. If there's someone listening who maybe has never really listened to Alice in Chains before, or who've never experienced Layne Staley before, I implore you, please go and search out Alice in Chains and Layne Staley. If nothing I have said has really made you want to, then I haven't done my job. But really the whole point of what I wanted to get across today was just how much Layne Staley and his words that he said and the music of Alice in Chains really does mean to me. And that's kind of a hard thing to get across in words. I mean, I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I don't know a lot of big fancy words and all that. I used implore earlier, which is hilarious. That's probably like one of the quote unquote biggest words I know. But so for me to get something like that across, I basically have to ramble on until my point gets across, hopefully. So definitely check out a few of the songs I've mentioned that are some of my favorite Alice in Chains songs. It was Nutshell, Angry Chair, Love, Hate to Feel, and then Frogs. The MTV Unplugged performance is amazing. Dirt, the self-titled record, they call it the dog record because there's a picture of a dog on the front of it. And then Facelift as well. Also the EPs, Sap. There's so much good stuff out there from Alice in Chains. And even a couple kind of deep cuts that if you seek out that stuff and you really dig it and you want to kind of check out more Layne Staley, he did perform vocals for two other bands that kind of near... he took a little bit of a hiatus from Alice in Chains at one point, and he worked with a band called Mad Season. And there's two songs from them that I really, really like. One is River of Deceit, which is kind of probably their best known song. Really cool tune. And the other song is I Don't Know Anything, which is a very cool kind of... The riff is very droning and just like, it's a really cool song. But another song that is really cool, and I didn't really know about this until probably a couple years ago. One day I was kind of doing some searching, and I found this band, Class of 99. From what I can gather, they only really did one song, and it's, I don't remember the other members of the band, but there was Tom Morello playing guitar, which right off the bat is cool, and Layne Staley did vocals. right off the bat, if that doesn't sound cool to you, then I don't know what else to tell you. And they did a cover of Pink Floyd's Another Brick in the Wall. And it was for a movie, I think it was called, this weird horror movie, or sci-fi horror movie. Oh, it was The Faculty, I think. I don't really remember, but something of that nature. But it's Class of 99, Another Brick in the Wall. And it's, hearing Layne Staley sing those words is very cool. Just really cool deep cuts, kind of. And I mean, that's, like I said, that's the main point I wanted to get across this podcast. I'm sitting here kind of just in kind of a weird mood. I'm always in a weird mood on this day. I don't know why. It's funny when I'll have people over to my place, and in my living room there's this poster I got for Christmas a few years ago. It's a picture of Layne Staley, and has like the date of his death and birth and everything. And I always kind of like kept it in my room and everything. And now in my living room behind my TV, it's up on the wall. And people always trying to get a kick out of it. You know, I'll have my buddies over and they're like, "Really, dude?" You know, and I'm like, "Yeah," like it's that, you know, it's that big of a deal to me. That's it's up there. And my trusty Beaver Creek acoustic I have that I played that little intro there on today. I actually I didn't have a name for it, and I don't name all my guitars, but there's a couple I have that I've named, and I really wanted to name that particular guitar, and I had no idea what to name it. And the day I found out that Layne Staley passed away, I'm like, his name's Layne. That just is what it is. So my trusty sidekick has been named Layne in tribute to him. And I always joke around that I'm going to name my firstborn child, if they're a boy, I'm going to name him Layne. That's always kind of the big joke going around. And that's, you know, that's really it for today, guys. I just, I was debating on even making a podcast. I was going to just put up a really big, nice status. And I was like, you know what? Like, it's a podcast. What the hell am I putting up statuses for? You know, I'll just quickly nail something out. And if it turns out to be me rambling on about Layne Staley and Alice in Chains for however long it is, so be it. I had this weird feeling when I sat down to do this, and I kind of wanted to get everything out I had to say. Like I said, you know, there's no editing or anything of that nature on this one at all. I'm literally just going to upload it. Usually at least I'll sit down and kind of at least edit out like silences. And if there's like a section where I just have no idea what I'm saying, I'll edit that out and stuff. But none of that today. I feel really good right now. I feel like I just kind of wanted to get some of that stuff off the old chest here. And just in closing, guys, some people are like, you know, you're really sentimental about this. And I'm just like, you know what? You got to be sentimental about stuff, because in this day and age, there's so much negativity and bullshit in the world. You got to cling on to something good. And if that is listening to Alice in Chains and that's your thing, make that your thing and do that. That's what I did for many, many years. And I thank everyone in Alice in Chains for that. And I thank Layne Staley for that, because those guys, and Layne especially, at a time when I didn't really have a voice, and I was still kind of searching for who I was and everything, he definitely had a hand in that. Just something as silly as through a song, through something as silly as just literally one lyric, one little line that I heard, and for some reason everything made sense. And I kind of laugh about it now, but it's really true. And it's a nutshell. And the lyric is literally, he says, and I quote, "If I can't be my own, I'd feel better dead." And at a time in my life when I didn't know who I was or who I should be, should I conform to this? Should I go out and drink every night because that's what all the cool people do? But I don't want to do that. I want to do this. And just hearing something so subtle as like that, the little lyric, it literally changed my life. And I don't know if it was the way it was presented to me or what, but that one lyric is what I try to live my life by. If I can't be my own, I'd feel better dead. Which is literally just, if I can't be the person I want to be and do what I want to do, then what's the point? And I think that's something that a lot of people can relate to. And that's Layne Staley for you. So that's going to be it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope you guys enjoyed this. Be sure to share this with any Alice in Chains fans or Layne Staley fans today. Obviously, it's really a day for celebration, not for mourning. I mean, especially the fact that he's been gone for as long as he has. Celebrate. Listen to Alice in Chains. I will be literally cranking Alice in Chains all day today. That's literally what is going to happen the second I turn off this podcast. So if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go do that. Thank you guys so much. And I'll catch you guys next time on The Hodder Show.